Hey everyone, I'm Matt Ford and welcome to the Good Trouble Show. In case you haven't heard, Democrats and Republicans in Congress are taking UAPs, otherwise known as UFOs, seriously.
Thank you. I will now recognize Mr. Elizondo for his opening statement.
Greetings, Chairwoman Mace, Chairman Grothman, Ranking Members Connolly and Garcia, and members of the committee. It is my honor and privilege to testify before you on the issue of unidentified anomalous phenomenon, formerly known as UFOs. On behalf of our brave men and women in uniform and across the intelligence community, as well as my fellow Americans who have awaited this day, thank you for your leadership on this important matter. Let me be clear, UAP are real.
That was former Department of Defense official Lue Elizondo, one of 4 witnesses testifying under oath on Capitol Hill at the November 2024 House Committee on Oversight and Accountability hearing. In 2017, the New York Times article, Glowing Auras and Black Money, the Pentagon's mysterious UFO program, hit the front page, revealing that Elizondo was a senior ranking official of a highly classified Pentagon program called AATIP, whose mission was to study UAPs. Now, let's turn back to the hearing.
Advanced technologies not made by our government or any other government are monitoring sensitive military installations around the globe. Furthermore, the U.S. is in possession of UAP technologies, as are some of our adversaries. I believe we are in the midst of a multi-decade secretive arms race, one funded by misallocated taxpayer dollars and hidden from our elected representatives and oversight bodies.
So UAPs are real. They are monitoring our military installations. We are in an arms race with adversaries to reverse engineer crashed UAPs. The Pentagon is hiding it from Congress, and while they are at it, a cabal of unelected officials within the government that are controlling the UAP issue are retaliating against anyone who threatens to expose this. You literally cannot make this shit up. With all of the congressional focus on UAP, you may have heard talk about a little-known office in the Pentagon called AARO. You may ask, what is this AARO office and how did it come about? Well, let's take an abbreviated trip down UAP memory lane. Following the bombshell 2017 article in the New York Times, U.S. military pilots as well as other government employees were privately briefing lawmakers on Capitol Hill about their personal encounters with UAPs while on duty. Furthermore, many of these U.S. military members revealed to their lawmakers that they were victims of retaliation from the Pentagon for reporting these incidents. So, in 2020, Congress mandated the creation of the UAP Task Force. Established within the Navy, the effort was led by Jay Stratton and reported directly to Congress. The task force analyzed over 144 UAP reports, stating that most were actually unexplained. The UAP Task Force's efforts were widely considered a success, in large part due to Jay Stratton's leadership. But, as we will see, like many things in government, Jay was the exception. Building on the success of the UAP Task Force, Senator Kirsten Gillibrand proposed creating a UAP office within Congress. In response to this news, Deputy Secretary of Defense Kathleen Hicks, known for her ability to fail Pentagon audits, panics that the Pentagon will lose control over the UAP narrative and establishes their own UAP office housed within the Office of the Undersecretary of Defense called, get this, AIMSOG, or Airborne Object Identification Management Synchronization Group. Hicks, surprisingly realizing her word salad of an organization was bad PR, renames the office to AARO, or All Domain Anomaly Resolution Office, and appoints Dr. Sean Kirkpatrick as its director. AARO was tasked with a few missions. One was to detect, identify, and understand unidentified anomalous phenomena across all domains to ensure that they do not pose a threat to the United States and to report its findings back to Congress. It was also tasked to be the authorized recipient of testimony from current or former government employees who had encountered UAPs during their official duties. Another of AARO's missions, and perhaps the most important, was to be the designated recipient of classified testimony from government whistleblowers who had information on unreported Pentagon UAP special access programs hidden from Congress. In other words, the Pentagon's UAP office oversaw investigating itself for illegal activity. It was literally like the fox guarding the henhouse, which, led to the obvious question, should whistleblowers trust AARO? Are they really interested in getting to the truth about UAP and potential illegal Pentagon UAP programs? To answer this question, you must look at the pattern of behavior of Dr. Kirkpatrick, AARO, and how it treated witnesses and whistleblowers. Following its first year of Dr. Kirkpatrick not spending his classified budget, witnesses began testifying to AARO and Dr. Kirkpatrick. It wasn't long before I and others started hearing from those witnesses, and what they reported was not good. One person I debriefed was a former United States Air Force nuclear launch control officer whose nuclear-tipped missiles were knocked offline by UAPs. This witness testified to AARO staff and Dr. Jon Kirkpatrick over the phone, describing Dr. Kirkpatrick as argumentative and saying that he and his AARO investigators showed little to no interest in the event's details. This retired officer explained that Kirkpatrick and his team seemed eager to get off the call, and that AARO staff did not bother recording the testimony. The witness closed by saying he had even received emails from AARO staff regarding special access program testimony that were not meant for this witness. Reports like this were the rule, not the exception. Other witnesses told me that their interview with AARO was a total Keystone Cops affair. They were in awe of Dr. Jon Kirkpatrick's arrogance and AARO's incompetence. The common thread I kept hearing was that AARO and Kirkpatrick were, quote, simply going through the motions, disinterested, failing to ask simple investigatory questions. It wasn't long before Dr. Kirkpatrick poured salt in the wounds of these witnesses as he testified in spring of 2023 at a hearing chaired by Senator Kirsten Gillibrand.
I should also state clearly for the record that in our research, AARO has found no credible evidence thus far of extraterrestrial activity, off-world technology, or objects that defy the known laws of physics.
So here's the leader of AARO stating after only a few months of lame interviews that there is nothing to see here. Kirkpatrick proudly proclaimed that he had all the power needed to dig up these hidden UAP special access program, but he had found no such evidence. Yours truly pointed out that AARO did not have all the power Kirkpatrick claimed, as it lacked 1811 or what is called special agent authority. AARO lacked the legal authority to conduct search and seizure and the ability to subpoena and arrest, and it still lacks that authority. AARO was and continues to be a paper tiger. Later that summer, former intelligence official turned whistleblower David Grusch shocked the world with his bombshell testimony in front of Congress.
I was informed in the course of my official duties of a multi-decade UAP crash retrieval and reverse engineering program.
Mr. Grusch, finally, do you believe that our government is in possession of UAPs?
Absolutely, based on interviewing over 40 witnesses over 4 years.
And where?
I know the exact locations, and those locations were provided to the Inspector General and some of which to the intelligence committees. I actually had the people with the firsthand knowledge provide a protected disclosure to the Inspector General.
Following Grusch's testimony, Dr. Kirkpatrick went off the rails, posting a letter on LinkedIn calling the testimony insulting. Thus began a public campaign by the director of AARO spreading wild conspiracies and disinformation about Congress and stating that all this UAP stuff was due to circular reporting by a bunch of UFO fanatics. Word on the whistleblower street was spreading that the Pentagon's AARO's office was not only a disaster, but could not be trusted, especially its director, Dr. Jon Kirkpatrick. People were avoiding AARO like the plague. By the end of 2023, Dr. Kirkpatrick left AARO, sporting a golden parachute that landed him a cushy job at Oak Ridge National Laboratories, while suspiciously continuing to spread conspiracy theories about UAP while the Department of Energy somehow looked the other way. You have to wonder who was telling the DOE to let Kirkpatrick continue to operate as a disinformation agent, lying to the public like it was going out of style. With no leader, career intelligence official Tim Phillips and deputy director of AARO became the interim director. Things got better at AARO, right? Wrong. Word on the street was that he was a continuation of Kirkpatrick, a Kirkpatrick 2.0, an intelligence agent whose job required him to lie to people. Remember when I said that there were 4 witnesses at the House UAP hearing in November? This is what Navy Rear Admiral Tim Gallaudet had to say about AARO.
In your written testimony, you claim last year's UAP hearing before this oversight committee confirmed that UAP-related information is, well, it's not only being withheld, but that elements of the government are engaging in a disinformation campaign to include personal attacks designed to discredit UAP whistleblowers. Could you elaborate on that statement a little?
Yes, sir. Earlier this year, I met with the DoD's All-Domain Anomaly Resolution Office, and what I thought would be a 90-minute meeting just to meet with leadership turned out to be an hours-long influence operation on me, where they attempted to convince me of the validity of the very flawed and error-ridden historical records report. In addition, they tried to have me question very valid UAP reports like the Tic Tac incident, and even coming to stating possibly that the Tic Tac was American technology. And then, of course, if you ask David Fravor or Alex Dietrich, the two witnesses, they were convinced it was otherwise. And then, and they also cast discredit on various UAP whistleblowers and witnesses to question their validity and credibility as witnesses.
We have no idea if Tim Phillips was the one psyoping a retired Navy Rear Admiral, but it was under Phillips' leadership. The fact that you have AARO running a psychological operation against a decorated retired Navy Rear Admiral is, well, it's not a good look. Later in 2024, Tim Phillips moved back to his position at AARO as deputy director as Dr. Jon Kosloski was named as the new director for AARO. And in November of 2024, testified for the first time at the Senate Armed Services Subcommittee on Emerging Threats and Capabilities.
And I yield back. Thank you.
Dr. Kosloski, please make your opening statement.
Thank you, Chairwoman Gillibrand, Ranking Member Ernst, and distinguished members of the subcommittee. It is a pleasure to be here on behalf of the Department of Defense as the new director of the All-Domain Anomaly Resolution Office. I appreciate the opportunity to provide a status update on AARO's work and respond to your questions about unidentified anomalous phenomenon, or UAP.
He didn't mention the other possibilities, such as ultra-terrestrial or interdimensional, but that's been a typical comm strategy for the Pentagon. Overall, though, Dr. Kosloski was a massive improvement over the arrogant buffoonery of Dr. Sean Kirkpatrick. Kosloski detailed a few UAP encounters that were truly anomalous and stated that UAPs need to be taken seriously since there are ongoing incursions at our sensitive military sites. But let's get back to the original question. Should whistleblowers trust AARO?
Thank you, Dr. Kosloski. I appreciate your testimony. It's been widely reported that individuals claiming first-hand knowledge of unreported UAP programs have been reluctant to engage with AARO. What message do you have for those individuals, and how will you work to gain their trust?
I would let them know that Congress has gone out of its way to create the organization AARO specifically to conduct these sorts of investigations, and has uniquely empowered them to have access to all UAP-related information, whether that's historic or current. And we take that responsibility and those authorities very seriously. And so we have been reaching out to a broader community, encouraging folks who had talked to AARO personnel in the past and maybe felt uncomfortable to come back to us. We've met with several of their interlocutors and a couple of firsthand witnesses, and we are making great progress, and those firsthand witnesses that we have talked to do feel comfortable coming back to us. And so we hope that more folks that do have information would go to www.aaro.mil, fill out the form, send it to us so we can bring them in for interviews and add their information to our investigations.
Okay, well, that sounds promising. It seems that under the new leader, whistleblowers and others can fully trust AARO, but not so fast. Following the footsteps of Dr. Sean Kirkpatrick, AARO Deputy Director Tim Phillips posted this on LinkedIn, quote, "Hope to look at the evidence of unreported UAP programs provided during today's UAP hearings. Heard a lot of inaccurate claims based on what people wish was true, not the evidence we have." Zach replied, "Can you elaborate on which claims you believe are inaccurate?" Tim Phillips replies that the DoD and IC are hiding evidence of programs to recover and exploit UAPs, that there is a file containing high-resolution footage of UAPs being concealed from oversight, that we have withheld satellite imagery of UAPs that prove their claims. None of these claims are true. The satellite imagery of UAP is not a UAP. This case is resolved and remains classified to protect ISR capabilities. There are 12 oversight committees governing UAP, and classified briefings were presented in the House and Senate SCIFs. So once again, you have an AARO director having a conversation about whistleblowers, throwing them under the bus Sean Kirkpatrick style. It is absolutely no wonder why whistleblowers do not trust AARO, and for good reason. AARO publicly states that they want whistleblowers to come in. Come in, all right? Come in and place yourself under the bus and let the Pentagon run all over you. Lue Elizondo provided this statement to the Good Trouble Show, quote, Tim Phillips, the deputy director for AARO, wonders why more people don't trust AARO. Could it be because Tim is having off-the-record conversations on LinkedIn trying to undermine whistleblower testimony? Why won't he say this officially and formally? Not a good look for the new director, especially after he just told the media that they need more people to come forward. Shame on you, Tim. Didn't you learn your lesson from your last boss? Don't ask me again to come in and speak to you guys one more time. I already did, and you are not an honest broker, and now we all know. Signed, Lue Elizondo, Senior Ranking Official, Pentagon's Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program. Lue Elizondo pretty much summed it up. Should whistleblowers trust AARO? The answer is a resounding no.